My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a scholar, poet, facilitator, filmmaker, and assistant professor of Africana Studies at the University of Delaware. So, within this conversation, we talked about mental health. We also discussed their memoir that's to be released in February of 2026. And it's a memoir of a Black trans man's journey from baby girl to Black boy through gender, race, and trans theory made personal. I know you're going to enjoy this episode.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying trans men and color voices, yeah, we here making noise, making noise, visibility equals possibility, you know we them boys, them boys, amplifying trans men and color voices, yeah, we here making noise.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his, and my next guest is a shape-shifting Black queer feminist nerd, an Afro-future freedom dreaming, rhyme-slinging dragon slayer in search of a new world. And he is also a writer, and his debut memoir, A Body Made Home, They Black Trans Love, is coming out next year, February 24th, 2026. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks. Name, pronouns, and where you calling in from.
I am Kai Marshall Green. I go by Marshall. My pronouns are they and he, and I'm calling in from Philly.
Philly. I just had that song, Philly. Philly, where you are from? I don't even remember who sang that. I think that was Eve.
I saw Eve at the Roots Fest. I saw Eve.
Oh, nice.
It's an Eve song.
Yeah, oh yeah, that is Eve. Yes, that's dope. So you born and raised in Philly, or?
I was actually born in Oakland, East Oakland. I spent most of my life there until I was 15, and then I went to boarding school in Massachusetts, and then I went to college in Massachusetts, and then I came back to the West Coast, Southern California for grad school, and ended up back in Massachusetts, which is, I would say, Massachusetts is not a great place for Black people. But yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why I kept going back.
You say you were born out here in East Oakland, so we neighbors. So I grew up in the East Bay. So I grew up in Richmond.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. When the last time you been to Oakland?
Probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to go back home because so many of the people I grew up with are no longer able to afford to live there. So, it's just like a different place. Like I have one friend that I grew up with that still lives in East Oakland. Everybody else has either moved to the South or moved to the East Coast. People just can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. In Oakland right now at the Oakland Museum, I just went about 2 weekends ago. They got an exhibit there about Black communities in Oakland and how they were pushed out in the early 1900s. And so how some of the freeways and some of the things that we see downtown used to be all Black communities, but Black folks was kicked out of their homes. So it's in the museum right now for folks that live here or visiting and they want to see that. But I don't know if you know about that, but there is an exhibit right now at the Oakland Museum about that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to juxtapose that with this moment and seeing the migration patterns of Black folks from Oakland in this moment, comparing those, is there a similarity or not?
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And it was a lot of and comparing and how some of the Black folks were pushed out and lost their homes, but they weren't compensated like the white folks were. Right. And we know about that and how, how that happens to Black folks. And so, Kai Marshall Green, I like to ask folks this question. How did that name Kai, how did that choose you?
So it basically came to me in a moment of trauma. I was actually in the Bay at home for a break. I was in grad school, and someone had broken into my car, into my rental car, and stolen like my laptop and a whole bunch of stuff that I needed for school. And I had been having a rough go at it in grad school at the time, and so that was a semester that I really needed to show up. So all of the stuff that I had been working on just was gone. And I was like, how am I going to explain this to everybody? And so I kind of had a breakdown, and I just like was crying and crying, and I couldn't like bring myself together again. And at one moment, I was like crying and looking at myself in the mirror, and it just came to me that your name is no longer what my name was, and your name is now Kai.
Mm,
And later, I would come to find out that Kai has significant meanings. It means transformation, change, and ocean. And so I thought that was actually very fitting. And it was kind of like the name chose me, and it was very fitting for the person I was walking into being.
mm. So do you feel like it was like a divine intervention into who you were?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened with that semester though? Did you get your work turned in or what?
I did. It was barely.
Okay.
It was by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
So is that's like telling your teacher that the dog ate the homework and they like, your dog ain't eat no damn homework. Was it kind of like
Yeah, it was kind of like
that?
that.
Well, I'm glad that, you made it through. And sometimes we don't understand things when it's happening in moments, but it's supposed to be happening, right? It's like we don't, I was talking about this earlier today with someone of like, sometimes the universe has this way of making you stay still, right? Because we doing all these things,
Mm,
we moving, right? You in grad school, you moving from across the country, you doing all these things, and sometimes we need to be present within ourselves and be still. And sometimes it's voluntary, and sometimes it's involuntary, right? And so just breaking into your car, and
yeah.
that was, what year was that?
Ooh, it was so long ago.
Oh,
I'm so old now.
oh
I
goodness,
don't know.
whoa! Because I'm
It
like,
was probably like maybe 15 years ago,
ooh,
something like
15
that.
years ago. Only reason why I said that because you're from Oakland. I'm like, damn, 15 years ago they were still breaking into people's cars. That's wild.
Yeah.
like that's a
Oh
thing with
yeah.
Oakland. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm glad you.
Especially around the lake.
Yes. Yes. That's when my car got broken into, around the lake, like a couple of years ago, about like 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. I rode around with that broken window for 2 years. I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna fix it. Yeah,
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
so if I fix it and somebody gonna break it again, nah. So I was just pissed off for 2 years with the broken window. And so when we talk about this podcast, and it's to promote visibility for trans men of color. And so I like to ask folks all the time about their gender journey. And so just give us a background of like, when was the first time that you had the sense of who you were?
Um, that was also in grad school too. And I always kind of like used my research to figure out stuff about myself. So I started working on this short documentary film called It Gets Messy in Here.
Mm,
And I went around and asked um, mostly Black non-binary. So we didn't
mm,
really have that term didn't exist when I was making this film, but I feel like many of the people in the film were like trans mask or non-binary. And I basically did this interview where I asked all these other people about their gender and how did they discover what were their gender journeys like. And it helped me to I kind of like found myself in their stories, and I was like, oh, this is who I am. I'm trans. I'm a trans man. And as soon as I figured that out, I was like, boom, I know what I'm doing. Like,
mm,
I'm about to get top surgery like
mm,
next year. I'm
mm,
about to start taking tea right now. And so I like moved towards these medical transitions pretty quickly. Um, but I think the transition to being just who I am is something that was a slow transition, and it's still happening now. Like, I think I'm still like in a moment of transformation or change, like constantly transitioning and figuring out like who it is I am now and what does it mean to be a trans man in this moment.
Mm,
Especially like when I said, there are new language, there are new words that exist and now that didn't exist when um I was coming out back then. There are new pronouns that didn't
mm,
exist um back then, and so I think that makes the gender journey one that is ever changing for me.
mm. That's such a good point, because I myself, I was talking with someone just yesterday about how transitioning is an ongoing thing. It's on a continuum, right? And they're like, "Oh, I'm 3 years in." I was like, "Well, I'm 12 years in. I'm still trying to figure shit out." They're like, "Oh my god, it don't never stop." I'm like, "No, right? You
No, it
finding
doesn't.
new ways to like evolve and to it's just like learning, right? If you're a lifelong learner, you always want to learn new things, right? We learners with technology, right? Technology that was 2 3 years ago ain't the same as now, so we constantly learning, right? And so it's the same with your identity of like you said, it's words and languages that we use now that wasn't accessible to us back then, right? We just didn't know how to put our finger on it, quite say, kind of. I didn't know what to say. Like now, before, I wasn't using the word queer, but now I'm like, okay, well, I see other people using it, and I'm like, okay, well, what does that word mean to me, right? And being able to shift from what I used to use to now I'm saying, okay, now I'm this, right? And so it's on a continuum always.
Yeah.
So, what would you say as like a bit of advice to folks that's listening? That's like, Kai, I can't figure this shit out. Maybe they're young, right? Maybe they're just starting out on their journey. Like, what would you say to folks that are listening?
Be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself, allow yourself to not be perfect.
Mm,
Um be Instead of being perfect, be curious. I think that's a major one, is being curious and being open to what answers the universe provides.
mm. And just hearing you say that, I'm thinking of like, sometimes even with like people in our lives when we're on this transition journey and people ask you questions, maybe just I don't know, it's a parent or family member or somebody will say, "Well, I don't understand you." You're like, "Well, shit, I don't even understand myself." I'm still trying to figure this out, right? So that bit of advice would be for someone that's going through this journey. What bit of advice do you think you may have for someone that's witnessing this journey of someone else? Maybe they have a trans child and they're like, "Give me some answers, tell me what's going on with you." But in reality, that person may or may not have figured it out yet. So what would be kind of like your advice for that type of a situation?
Kind of similar, be patient,
Mm,
be curious, be gentle, and don't expect to, don't try to pin people down in strict ways. So if a person is transitioning from female to male and they identify as a trans man, don't force them into what you think a man has to be or what
mm,
kind of man they're supposed to be. Um, yeah, because I think a lot of times, you know, if everyone could think about the ways that we fail at gender,
mm,
um, and we fail at gender, all of us do, cis and trans people. We just don't live up to what our gender expectations are.
mm,
And so I think that's a place where we can actually find commonality.
mm. And it's kind of like, what are gender expectations? It doesn't really exist, or some shit we just made up. It's
Yeah. So I think about like my own journey and becoming the man that I became. And, you know, I identified as a stud,
mm,
and I like came up in black lesbian culture. Like that was where I came into being, and understanding my queerness. And I think my transness a lot of people expected me to become a particular kind of man because I was a stud. And so, or because I would say, like, people in my biological family have this notion of what it means to be if I'm going to be a man, then you need to be a man like this. You
Mm,
have to be hard. You have to do these particular set of things. And so I think I failed at those things, at becoming, like, I became someone who was probably most likely read as like a queer cis man most of the time.
mm.
And that wasn't that wasn't something I expected, but it was just like, oh, that's who I came out to be. Um, and so I think, yeah, I think we have to be just kind to ourselves and open, and not try to be so prescriptive and restrictive.
Mm, mm. And so when you came to a realization in your mind of like when you were asking other students of like about their identity and about gender, and when you came to that realization like, yo, I am going to, and I identify as a Black trans man, who was the first person that you told?
Mm. I don't know. I'm like, I probably told the world on YouTube. You know what I mean? I was telling everybody.
Okay.
It's like, who didn't I tell? Um, yeah, but I think the people who were closest to me were some of those people who were in that film that I made. It Gets Messy in Here, and I think those were some of my, like, closest friends and people that I would have these deep conversations around gender with. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And so what if folks listening wanted to kind of check that film out? Is it available for folks to check out?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's
Okay.
on YouTube.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love that. So for folks that's listening, we'll kind of try to like put that into the show notes so folks can check that out. And so,
Yeah, I can give you a link too.
okay, for sure. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. So from whatever platform that you're listening to this week's episode on, please be sure to give us 5 stars. And if there's something within this episode, whether it's the guest or something that I said, or maybe the guest said that resonated with you, be sure to go and leave us a comment on this episode or leave us a comment on the show. So what happens is, if you feel like it resonated with you, I'm sure there's someone out there who hasn't even heard about Dem Bois Podcast. It may resonate with them, and actually it could save someone's life. To hear these stories, right? Because we believe that visibility equals possibility, but there isn't any possibility if we aren't visible. So if you go and leave comments, the more comments you leave, the more 5-star ratings you leave, then this podcast will be available to more folks to see. And so we want to be visible. We want to be out there. We want folks to know that we're here and that our stories are out there for them to listen to. And so if you could do me a favor, please go ahead and rate the show or leave a comment. Until next time, see you on the next episode.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Our community keeps growing, and we'd love for you to be an even bigger part of it. Have a story that needs to be heard? A powerful moment you'd like to share? Well, we've expanded our newsletter to include more voices from our community, and yours could be next. We're looking for those meaningful snapshots of life, your personal stories and reflections that capture who we are. Think 100 to 200 words that pack a punch. Ready to share your story? Send your writing to me at joel@dembois.org. That's JOEL@dembois.org.
I want to ask you, because you and I kind of were socialized in similar spaces. So I also was socialized in Black lesbian spaces until I wasn't. And so I won't say that there
Right.
was a, and it's a loss, right? I felt a loss. I can't speak for you, but I felt the extreme losses. Like I spent a lot of my life building this community. And then I went to, okay, well, now my voice got deeper. Now, you know, I want top surgery, all of these different things. And now I don't really fit into that space. Cause I remember being in clubs and you see a assumed cis man coming in. You're like, what this nigga doing here? You know what I mean? It's like, what this person doing here? Right. And then I started to feel as if I was that person that people looking at, like, who is this man in here? Right. And so I want to ask you, like,
Yeah.
how did you kind of make the connection or disconnection from the Black lesbian spaces?
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of grief and loss there.
Mm,
But I think I think one thing that I really grieve is that, you know, there's a kin a like feeling of kinness that you feel when you're like a stud that sees another stud. And I feel like not having that connection was
mm,
something that was really hard for me because it was like I want to say no, I'm like you, like we're the same, we're good. Like I
yeah.
see you.
Yeah.
um but also I think that I don't know, I think this is not exactly what you asked, but I wondered about trans trans guys now who don't have that experience of ever being in a lesbian community and
Mm,
like what that's like to not, because a lot of trans young trans guys in my classes and stuff like that, they'll just be like, no, I was never in a lesbian community.
mm,
I've been trans.
mm,
And so I think that's interesting. And I think that means that those of us who do have that history um, have a responsibility to like remember it, document it,
mm,
archive it, because it might not always exist.
mm. That's a good point. Do you feel like folks who were socialized in Black lesbian spaces versus folks who weren't have a different or go off into different branches of manhood?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a big question. There's so many
Yeah.
like possibilities to think about there because I think about like the studs that I used to hang out with and the like stud femme community that I hung out with when I was a teenager in the Bay. It was the studs were horrible. I mean,
Mm,
they were really horrible people. I mean, when it comes to like patriarchy,
mm,
misogyny, violence, it was just like, ooh, I don't know.
yeah.
um, and so in that way, I think I don't know. So there's like experiences that I have like that, where I'm like, oh, it would have been maybe better if I had a different like understanding of queer gender that wasn't kind of a another binary system, even though it
Mm,
was like lesbian or all women, you know,
yeah.
but it was still a binary.
Yeah, it's so crazy how we cling to these binaries and these rules. And I mean, I was talking before about in episode 100 actually about how I felt like my queerness was not necessarily by my own design. Right? It was like I didn't
Mm,
have that freedom to actually be who I really was or really wanted to be until now. Cause I don't give a fuck what nobody else say, right?
yeah,
But before you had
yeah,
to fit in between these lines, right? Just like you saying, somebody might think that you were a queer man, right? But it's like, but why? You know, it's like all these different these boundaries and these boxes, even as a stud that you had to fit into, or you wasn't really a stud per se, right? You wasn't. I don't know the terms that is using of like. I don't know. It's just so many rules, right? Like a touch me not stud or like a
yeah.
gold star. Like it's like all these different parameters that you're supposed to fit in, or you not really seen as a stud, right? And it's, so it's like our identities is not necessarily, well, mine, I can't speak for you, but like my identity wasn't necessarily by my own design. I was just trying to fit into some of these boxes that was created from whoever created them, and people was just following them for no damn reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say like it's so when I was first coming out, I was going to this youth center, the Pacific Center in Berkeley, and it was mostly like Black queer kids that would hang out there. And I would go there, and people would just be like, "What are you? Are you this? Are you that?" And I was like, "I don't really know. I'm just here." And then I was like, "I don't really know what I am, but it seems like I need to choose." And so I ended up having like my first date with the stud. And I remember feeling so mm, like there was no room for me to move because the way they were treating me.
Mm,
And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I am not going to be a femme because I have to be a stud because I don't want to be in this position anymore. So
mm,
like clearly I'm a stud
mm.
because that's the role I need to play.
So how did the date go? Was the date horrible or?
It wasn't horrible. It was just like I felt very boxed in. Like they were opening the door and doing stuff that I just thought was really performative in a strange way. Cause I was
Mm,
like, I'm not trying to be treated like uh the woman or the girl.
mm. So let me ask you this then: Is so now as a trans man, if somebody opens up the door for you, would you feel some type of way now? Somebody opens the door for you.
I don't know. I feel like now the people that I interact with, if it's like a romantic or we're going on a date or something, that there's kind of a mutual, um, like give or take.
Mm,
I open the door, you open the door, it doesn't matter.
mm. What about a stranger?
A stranger.
Yes. So,
Um,
a strange man, you walking into a donut shop, he opened up the door and said, "Go ahead, sir." How would you feel?
oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't feel anything.
Oh, okay,
I'd be
okay.
like, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
I had that happen to me the other day. I was walking into the sandwich shop and the dude opened up the door and I was taken back like, well, why you open the door for me? Like, would he see that you know what I mean? But he was like, man, we don't open up the door for each other enough. I was like, well, you know what? God damn it, you right. Thank you. I'm going to strut through this damn door. I was just wondering because it's like, is there an issue with someone actually opening the door or is just the way that particular person made you feel when they did open up the door?
I think it's the way they made me feel like it was like they were in doing that, articulating a certain kind of power.
Mm,
Um, and I didn't want to be, it was like they were putting me in my place. And I was
mm,
like, but I don't want to be put in that place.
mm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, damn. Now I need to ask people before I open up the door. Is it okay if I open up? Is it okay if I open up the door for you? I want to take a deep dive, kind of into mental health, and I know you mentioned that you wanted to talk about mental health, and so I tend to talk about it from time to time on this show, but never I talk about therapy, but never in a more of an intentional way. And so I want to ask you about mental health and your relationship to it.
yeah. So I do write a bit about this in my book.
Mm,
Because I've been diagnosed as bipolar, having ADHD and PTSD and like so much
mm,
shit. Um, I've experienced uh, hospitalizations because of my mental health, which has created its own, it becomes its own kind of traumatic experience. Like being hospitalized is also a traumatic experience, even if you're like having a crisis, it's like crisis on top of crisis.
mm,
But so I would say my relationship to mental health is I'm still figuring it all out. I didn't get diagnosed as bipolar until I was 33 years old, and that was the first time I ever had a manic episode, and I didn't really understand what was happening, and it took me a while to like, accept the diagnoses. Um, because it was just like strange. Nothing like that had happened to me before. Um, but yeah, so that's sort of where my relationship to mental health comes in. But also, I grew up with my mother having mental health, different mental health crises where she had to be hospitalized. And growing up, it was always like my greatest fear that that would happen to me. It was like, I will be okay as long as that doesn't happen to me. And I mean, being diagnosed as bipolar at 33 is very late. So I thought that I was good. I wasn't gonna have to worry
Mm,
about this.
mm,
But then, things happen. And it has really changed my life and the way I live. It's been hard.
mm. And I want to ask you because, with the negative connotations in the media about trans folks and who we are and how we live and how we become trans and all of these things, and they just to them, right? They just folks who aren't about our lives. I'm just gonna say that. Just generally, folks who don't give a shit about our lives and about our existence and want to erase us, and they say, "Oh, they just crazy" or whatever. What would you say as the difference between mental health and your actual trans identity? Are they connected or are they one and the same or like are they separate?
Um, I mean, I would say like I'm a trans guy with mental health challenges. So I wouldn't say my transness is a mental health challenge.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that either. And so that's what I'm just, trying to get folks to understand that, our trans identity and mental health are two different things and it doesn't they have intersections, but one is not because of the other and vice versa, right? And so in those moments, during crises, who was your support system? What did your support system look like?
I have a very strong support system made up of chosen family and friends. I think when I had my first episode and then I went on leave and I was back in the Bay Area, um, folks kind of left me with my mom. And I
Mm,
was like, once I moved through that, I was like, please don't ever do that
mm,
again. Like,
mm,
I don't, that's just not a good place for me to think about healing. But yeah, mostly it's chosen family. We have a group chat
mm.
where folks check in and we'll link up and have conversations. And I check in with people, give them updates about where I am, things that I might need. Um, so I think that's really important is to have like a safety team.
Mm. And so, what would be your advice for folks who don't have that and may be facing mental health challenges, right? And sometimes we go through things alone because of our gender identity and has nothing to do with everything else, right? Some folks have been cast out just based on their gender identity, but they still have other needs. And so, what would you say for folks who need some help with mental health, but don't have people to check up on them like you do, or don't have a group chat, or don't have friends, or what would be your recommendations for them?
I mean, I would suggest, like, if possible, therapy. I would suggest, if possible, finding some friends, finding a group of people that you can connect with, whether it be through like mental health groups that you might go to or other kinds of groups that you might go to, just to, I think connecting with other people is key. And I know for myself, like in my depressive moments, I really isolate. And the isolation is sort of like it it's not helpful. It allows me to like say things to myself negative and ruminate on negative thoughts, and it's just not helpful. So I would say like try to get some support that way, but also, if you can't do that, journal, get outside, exercise, do what you can.
Mm.
Just try not to isolate. I think isolation can be really harmful.
Really harmful. And so, you told your people don't leave you with your mom. Do you and your mom have a relationship now?
Yeah, we do. And we always have. It's just that I don't think she's the person who should care for me. Like, I
Mm.
don't think she has the ability to like really truly care for me.
Mm. And so it's also letting people know to be selective about your care, right? And advocate for yourself. If what you're receiving is not what you feel like you deserve, to advocate for yourself and not to sit in that space. And I'm glad that you did that, right? And folks think
Yeah.
that, oh, just because it's your mama, you'll be all right. Well, no, maybe not, right?
Yeah, and it's not because she doesn't love me or because anything like that. It's just like I don't think she has the things that I need in those moments.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah.
The most important thing is to get what you need, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you have that chosen family. You have folks that can check up on you. That you have folks that, and vice versa, right? And you checking up on them, and y'all stand in contact in a way to make sure that your community is good. You know what I mean? Your group of people,
Yeah.
your chosen loved ones are good. Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Dem Bois Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great, I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. I want to kind of pivot a little bit because I want to ask you about your book. And so you are a writer, and also obviously you're a film director because you got a film out there in this world. And so, one thing about your bio I thought was very elaborate but oddly specific, right? And so you freedom dreaming, rhyme slinging, dragon slaying, right? And so to me, that seems someone with a creative mind. And so you are a writer, and your book is going to be coming out, A Body Made Home, They Black Trans Love, is coming out next year in February. You want to tell folks a little bit about that and your vision for that and your creative spirit within that?
Yeah, so it is a memoir. But it's different from most memoirs because most memoirs are written in first person I. And so the way my memoir, the first sort of section of the book is written in third person, and it's written like a story, and it's very inspired by The Bluest Eye. And so the characters are Black mama, baby girl, daddy, and then there are a whole bunch of other characters like Auntie G. But it's sort of writing about my experiences with my mother growing up and with my father, um, having a drug addiction and then also being incarcerated, and sort of thinking about what kind of, I guess, what kind of life they were dreaming of, even in the midst of certain challenges. But also, I think what the main point of the first section is to it writes I write about these like characters like Black Mama and Baby Girl because I'm trying to talk about the ways in which we are made into girls and made into
Mm,
women. And so, what are the responsibilities that Black Mama has that she expects Baby Girl to carry? And then also, what are the ways that Black Mama has rejected certain ways of carrying and holding and becoming a woman? And so, yeah, it's I like that part.
I
But
love that.
then it moves into the second section. It does move into the I, but I really try to do this thing where I do a linguistic transition. So how like what does it mean to move from third person to first person? And I think about that as like an actual transition.
Mm,
Um, and then the third section is it closes in letters because letters are an important part throughout the text. So a lot of the ways that baby girl and daddy communicate are through letters, especially when he's incarcerated. And so there's one point where I say like the way baby girl first heard daddy's voice was through mama's reading of the letters.
mm.
Um, and so it's yeah, it's a short book, but I think it'll be pretty. I don't think there's anything else out there like that talks about transition in this way.
Mm,
Because mostly when people hear that I'm writing a memoir, they think I'm going to be writing about my trans, my medical transition. But actually, this book starts out when I was a kid, when I was a little girl, how I was made to be a little girl. Um, what did that mean? What did I dream of in those moments? And what dreams couldn't I have because they were limited by, gender roles?
mm. I love that. I'm excited. I really am. I love that. And so, how long have you been working on this?
Oh, over 10 years, actually.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you like picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down, or you or how did that
Yeah.
writing process go?
Yeah. Picked it up, put it down. I mean, all the mental health stuff took its toll and took time away look took me away from time or took time away from me.
Mhm.
So I think that was a big challenge. And I think, there have been parts of me that have felt shame for because it's taken so long. And so I'm trying to actually challenge that and just be like, it's coming out when it's supposed to come out. And yeah, I'm trying to talk kindly to myself.
Yeah, please do,
Um,
because it just goes back in the beginning of us talking about the universe and its intentions on what is supposed to be happening in our lives, right? It wasn't meant for you to finish 8 years ago, or 6 years ago, or 5 years ago, 2 years ago, right? Because you were still working through your healing, and so this is kind of like this book is like we're always growing and healing, right? But like this end process is maybe it's just like, oh, I'm finished. You know what I mean? Like that finished, that
yeah,
byproduct of all those things that's gone on in the 2 years, and this is like the conclusion of, that makes sense a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so for folks that want to pick that up, because I do too, because I like to read, and I love how it goes as in the transition from third person to first person. I just love this everything about that, how you're talking about it. So how can folks kind of like pick that up or support you?
You can pre-order it right now on Amazon or on the Feminist Press website. So yeah, you can click pre-order today.
That's what's up. This is happening. This is happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that. I love that. How do you feel 10 years later that it's now complete? How do you feel?
It's it's wild because I really am a totally different person. Um, and I think that, maybe I needed to be this person in this moment. Um, that, like you said, it wasn't time 6 years ago or 4 years ago. That wasn't the time. Like it, it needed to happen when it happened.
Mm.
So I'm just trying to like lean into that and be open to the possibilities of what it opens up. Like I'm really excited to hear what people think and how it opens up conversations and how does it help me to build connections with people.
Yeah. So are you going to do like any book tours, book readings, anything like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know where yet. If anyone's interested in bringing me, let me know.
Yeah, that's what's up. And so community do what community does when they hear these episodes. And I've had folks come on the show because somebody heard the episode of me saying I want somebody on the show, or like different things have happened because you put it out there. And so for folk that's listening, y'all need to book Kai immediately. So I
Thank
want,
you.
yeah, for sure. Cause and for one, I want to see you work, and I want to see your hard work get the recognition that it deserves. And so, and I love that. And so folks go pre-order. So for folks to keep up with you, where can they find out more about you? Where can they find you?
On all social medias, I am Dr. Drummer Boy, BOI Boy G. So that's where you can find me. You can find me at University of Delaware in Africana Studies.
Nice. So
Yeah.
we're gonna make sure to plug that into the show notes so people can click and follow you and keep up with your journey and what you're doing. And so this is the part of the show that I love to ask my guests a random ass question, and I got a long list of questions. I'm not gonna ask you all of them, but I put this list together, and so my idea is last season 3, I would ask people to pick a number between how many questions I had, and then take one and leave one. But I want to ask you, so I want to give you an option. Either you pick one out of 1 through 79, or would you like to pick a question from somebody from last season?
I'll pick from 1 through 79.
Okay.
I'll pick 33.
Number 33. Oh, number 33 says, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, I love movies.
Nice.
There's so many. I think, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker is one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God. Yes.
Showing my age.
Yes, definitely. Mine too, because I that resonated with me.
All About the Benjamins is also a favorite of mine. Yeah, I really like comedies.
Okay.
Although I do, watch quite a few scary movies. But yeah, I would say those two.
Nice.
I'm trying to think. And Friday.
And Friday. All right. I'm going to get you, sucker. Oh my God. If we can, I'm going to try to put the link in the show notes for folks to click on that and to go to that. I remember that when I was a kid. Yeah, we telling our age. Let's not even. Yeah. My favorite movie of all time, I ain't going to change my story, is because this question has been asked before. My all-time favorite movie is Love Jones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm gonna pick 2 because my other all-time favorite movie, and I was just talking about this today to somebody, is Princess and the Frog. I have watched Princess.
I've never seen it.
What? Yo, I need you, the next movie that you watch, I need it to be Princess and the Frog for you. I have watched that movie an unhealthy amount of times. I play it when I'm upset. I play it when I'm sad. I play it when I watch a scary movie and I need to get my mind off the scary shit. I play it when I'm cleaning up. I love it. And so, yeah, that was my two favorites. So,
Wow.
yeah. So Kai, I'm so glad that you are here. Is there any last minute things that you would like to say for folks before we get up out of here?
I would just say, continue to practice loving yourself and those around you. And thank you so much for having me.